daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.
Your body is unique, and Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Liverpool podcast brought to you by the Global Sports Podcast Network. It's Thursday, so all the international fixtures are done and dusted, and we can now refocus on the Premier League. We'll go through some brief Liverpool Football Club related news and some breaking Premier League news as well. Jamie Carragher, club legend, has been awarded the One Man Club Award by Athletic Club Bilbao in Spain. Jamie Carragher, as you may all know, is a very well-known pundit now, both in the UK and in the US on CBS Sports. Carragher played 737 times for the Reds, second only to the legendary Ian Callaghan in the club's all-time list of appearances. Most of the time, he was vice-captain to Steven Gerrard, but he still captained the club 94 times. And during arguably his most successful period, played 58 of Liverpool's 63 fixtures in that historic 2000-2001 season where the Reds picked up the League Cup, the FA Cup, the UEFA Cup and the UEFA Super Cup. Obviously, he was famously part of the winning Champions League team of 2005 in Istanbul, where I think more than any other game, I think that really epitomised Jamie Carragher. Better players around him, better players that he had to mark and deal with. You know, he was dealing with the likes of Kaká, Hernan Crespo, Inzaghi, you know, absolute legendary players, and probably the best team in the world at that time, that kind of 2005 to 2007 AC Milan team. And I think Carragher was hobbling on one leg for most of extra time, but just that incredible will to win, that will to fight, saw him and Liverpool through in the end to that Champions League victory. It's an interesting award, this, by Athletic Bilbao. It was established back in 2015, and it honours those players that played for, well, you know, as the award suggests, just for the one club. And it's obviously something that's really important to Athletic Club. According to the club, if you go to their website, you know, they're very big in believing about the kind of relationship between the supporters and the players, and particularly the kind of local support. And it is an interesting topic, you know, especially now in the modern age when it comes to football, when football is such a global sport, but the Premier League is such a global sport. I mean, it's called a global product, and you know, many of our listeners are in the United States, and so they weren't born in England. They weren't born in or around Liverpool or Manchester or Chelsea or Arsenal, but you know, that's the club that they choose. That's the club that resonates with them, and it's a club that they pick. I suppose traditionally, particularly in England, there were two ways that you supported your club. That was one, where you're born, right? So if you're born in Liverpool, you support either Liverpool or Everton. If you're born in Manchester, it's going to be City or United, or it was inherited from your father, which is the case for me. I'm from, but my dad got me a Liverpool shirt when I was 4 years old, and that was it. You know, I'm a Liverpool supporter. That's it. But I think now, you know, the question of fandom in the 21st century it's an interesting one, because you can't look down on supporters who are in Beijing and they support Chelsea, or they're in part of Arabia in the Middle East and they support Arsenal, because that's just the nature of football today. It's a global sport, it's a global product, and people tune into the Premier League from all over the world. And so why would they not support one of those teams? So I get where the club is coming from when it talks about a local fan base, but I think when you get to the bigger leagues, it's just inevitable that you're going to have a global fan base. Liverpool have always had a global fan base, and Manchester United the same. But their kind of club values, they say it's loyalty, commitment, responsibility, sportsmanship, and respect, which is that's all great. I'm sure we all buy into that. But if you look at the list of winners, they are kind of bona fide legends. You've got Matt Letizia, that spent 17 seasons at Southampton. He was actually the first winner of the award back in 2015. 2016, now you're talking about absolute legends of the game. Paolo Maldini, 25 seasons at AC Milan. 25 seasons, absolutely incredible. 1984 to 2009. It's just absolutely incredible. And he just won the lot. Absolutely won the lot. And what a player. Arguably the greatest defender that's ever played the game. 2017, Sepp Maier for his 13 seasons at Bayern Munich. 2018, Carlos Puyol for his 15 seasons at Barcelona. Again, hugely successful, but so he was the winner in 2018. 2019, Billy McNeil, legendary figure of Scottish football, 18 seasons at Celtic from 1957 to 1975, was part of that famous, legendary Lisbon Lions team. I think 1969, they were the first British team to win the Champions League, or the European Cup, as it was called back then. 2020, Ryan Giggs, for his 23 seasons at Manchester United. Wow, 23 seasons. And then you have Riccardo Piccini, 19 seasons at Independiente. João Pinto in 2023 got the award for his 16 seasons at Porto. 2024, Giuseppe Bergomi for his 21 seasons at Inter Milan. And now Jamie Carragher for 17 seasons at Liverpool. So, I mean, he's in some pretty solid company there. And obviously he was delighted with the award. A quote from Jamie Carragher, he says, "After winning the Champions League, being a one-club man is the biggest achievement of my career. It was an honour when Athletic Club got in touch. Athletic are respected everywhere in the world of football. They're a truly unique club. I'm very honoured to receive this award, and to know my name will always remain alongside some great footballers like Paolo Maldini and Carlos Puyol. As soon as I started playing for Liverpool, I knew I wanted to be a one-club man. I like the idea that when people ask, 'Who did you play for?' you respond, 'Liverpool,' and nothing else. I was a supporter on the pitch," which is true. And you could see that just by the way that he played. He was a supporter on the pitch. And he's going to be presented with this award at Athletic Club's home game later in the month. So, that's an interesting award for a Liverpool player to be awarded something like this by a different club, an overseas club. Okay, we're going to go to a very, very quick break, and then we'll come back and just go over some of the latest breaking news in the Premier League. Here at Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencastr came out the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, It's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencastr. Okay, welcome back. Let's go to some other Premier League news, because we have had some breaking news that Chelsea have been charged by the FA for breaching rules relating to agent regulations and third-party investments in players. 74 charges. I think it's 74 charges. 74 charges have been placed at the door of Chelsea Football Club. I mean, what can I say? Well, Chelsea joined Manchester City as the two clubs who have allegedly cheated their way to success. What a surprise. What a surprise. I think it's interesting to note that this charge is from the FA and not the Premier League. And I'm just wondering, does that mean that this process will go a lot quicker than maybe if it was the Premier League? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But the charges relate to the Roman Abramovich era between 2009 and 2022. Obviously, he's no longer owner of the club after having he was forced to sell the club after the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Chelsea have got until September the 19th to respond. And I mean, I guess we'll have to wait and see what they do, if they're going to behave anything like Manchester City have behaved in relation to the 115 charges by the Premier League and the UEFA charges before that. Judging by all the news reports, it looks like Chelsea will be more cooperative, and it appears that they self-reported. They released a quote saying, during a thorough due diligence process prior to completion of the process, the ownership group became aware of potentially incomplete financial reporting concerning historical transaction and other potential breaches of FA rules. Immediately upon the completion of the purchase, the club self-reported these matters to all relevant regulators, including the FA. The club has demonstrated unprecedented transparency during this process, including by giving comprehensive access to the club's files and historical data, which sounds like it is the polar opposite of how Manchester City have behaved. So it could be that, that will kind of mitigate any punishment that comes their way, whether it's in the form of a fine, a points deduction. We'll have to wait and see. But I think it's frustrating for other clubs, for supporters from other clubs, when you see clubs like this behaving in the way that they do. We've got this whole Manchester City situation, which is still rumbling on. We've started the 25-26 season and we still have no resolution to the 115 charges that have been levelled at that club. And you know what, on a broader point, this is why nobody has any respect for Manchester City and Chelsea. And that's just a fact. And that's why they are detested. It's not that they're disliked or even hated, but they are detested. Look, as Liverpool supporters, we hate Manchester United. But you know what? We've got respect for Manchester United. We respect their success, because whatever you say about clubs like Liverpool, Manchester United, Arsenal, these clubs, they built their reputation and their status on legitimate success on the pitch, which then fueled their success off the pitch. So, as I said, we hate Manchester United, but even when they were the big spenders in football after the formation of the Premier League, they were able to do that because of the success they had on the pitch. They were winning the Premier League, generating more money, generating more income. The television money was coming in, and top players wanted to go to Manchester United because they were winning. And, and we're spending money now, but only after we've succeeded on the pitch. The club was, we were on the verge of going into administration something like 15, 16 years ago. And then FSG come in. We don't spend recklessly. We spend within our means. The owners build the club, build the training infrastructure, develop the stadium. They develop the off-field commercial sponsorship deals, and they get a top manager in. And then we start winning. And even then, we have to sell in order to finance the players that helped us to get over the line. Famously, we sold Felipe Coutinho for around £150 million, which then enabled us to go out and get Alisson Becker, Virgil van Dijk, which helped us to get over the line in the Champions League and the Premier League. And once we started winning those big trophies, the sponsorship deals just got bigger and the commercial revenues just got bigger. And then that just goes back into the playing squad. And so we are where we are now, where we are spending money now, but we're still something like 6th or 7th in the net spend league. We're behind clubs like Aston Villa and Spurs. And so I think, look, we don't have a billionaire sugar daddy or a government backing us. And it's not just about spending money. It's about bending the rules. It's about twisting and breaking the rules. And not just breaking the rules, but then having the enormous machinery of state power to get yourselves out of any kind of accountability, which is, let's face it, that's what governments do around the world. And that is why City got their UEFA ban overturned, not because they were found innocent, but because of a technicality. And people forget that. They got a 2-year suspended sentence. They weren't found not guilty, but it was they got off on a technicality. So, look, we'll see what comes of this. I mean, it's not great for the Premier League when you have clubs behaving like this, with no class, no dignity. But, what do you expect from clubs like Manchester City and Chelsea? Hardly a surprise. Okay, that is all for today. You've been listening to the Daily Liverpool podcast brought to you by the Global Sports Podcast Network. Please support the show by following us wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be back tomorrow to preview the weekend's game at Burnley in the Premier League. Until next time, thank you for listening.
Your daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.